Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. Okay, so we are at the conclusion of the Thanos Imperative. Yes, we are. We are at the end of this story, and the ending is amazing. It is so cool. Okay, so Thanos giving up and joining the side of Marvel and the Revengers and the Cancerverse. People were kind of freaking out about it. They were starting to kind of lose their minds. And here's the funny thing about this. Marvel's response is like, thank you. I appreciate everything that you're doing to help me out. You know, I'll take you and I'll take all your friends. And all of my guys are like, all my mini angled ones are so anxious to meet you. What this means is the mini angled ones can basically transcend the existing universe and move into another universe. Remember, multiversal conquest is the name of the game, going from one universe to the next, conquering it and taking it over. The other question was, how in the world were they able to kill the Avatar of Death in the first place? Was it just means of overpowering them with cosmic energy or anything like that? No, it was basically an artifact, a weapon that was provided to Marvel by the mini angled ones themselves, specifically by Shumagorath. Now, this kind of requires us to get into a bit of discussion about the nature of Shumagorath, right? So if you go back and you look at like 1970, you look at 1981, like 1970, you had it was something Tower, it was issue number 6, but it was written by Wally Wood. And the idea was that he was the one that first kind of referenced the dark gods, so to speak, in the Marvel Comics. You go into Bruce Jones in 1981 with the Conan story and you get like the dark ones, you know, the old ones, that kind of a thing. It was always kind of Marvel alluding over the years that there were like these dark gods that were out there. It wasn't really until Grant Morrison with Zenith, and it wasn't really until you started getting into like Doctor Strange stories with Shumagorath that these old ones, these dark primordial gods, started kind of getting a form. The idea of referring to them as the mini angled ones in this one, in Cancerverse and Thanos Imperative, is actually a relatively new concept, but all it's designed to do is kind of consolidate all this information down and to say that Shumagorath is one of many of these beings that exist out there in the space between universes. But unlike a lot of these mini angled ones, if there is a hierarchy, we don't really know about it, but we do know that Shumagorath for the most part led them. Now, in terms of how Shumagorath ties into this, it can largely kind of be assumed that like multiple occasions where Shumagorath was always sort of trying to break into the main Marvel universe, this is yet another instance. You know, the difference is that Shumagorath was always kind of a multiversal entity, and that because he resides in the space between universes, he doesn't really belong to a particular universe, right? So he can kind of move between universes as he sees fit, as he can. It just happens to be with a lot of the Doctor Strange stories, or at least the really old stories, he was always trying to pass into the main Marvel universe, conquer it, since that's where he ruled at one point, and then kind of branch out from there, right? But one of the things that's kind of been hit on with the idea of the Cancerverse is that Shumagorath and the mini angled ones have conquered multiple other universes, right? This is just one in a long line of different universes they're trying to take over. Some of them are much darker and far more screwed up than this one, and some of them remain untouched, right? So it's one of those strange situations. But giving Marvel a sword by which he can kill the Avatar of Death is magically empowered. And that's one of the things to understand here, is that while you do have cosmic entities and you do have various beings out there that are wildly powerful, you do also have a lot of demons and things like that that are equally powerful, right? So the cosmic entities aren't really like the grand poobah. The buck doesn't stop there. There's a lot of beings out there that are equally powerful to them, right? It's one of the things we didn't really include in the Marvel cosmic hierarchy, is like a lot of the demons and monsters that are equal to a lot of the cosmic entities, and we probably should, you know, and kind of do it, because we need to do a new cosmic hierarchy anyway. So we'll probably go ahead and jump into that. But the idea here is using the sword that was given to him by the mini angled ones, Marvel in turn stabs Thanos. And so what it does is it jumps to basically the opening of the fault, and it basically picks up with the Galactus engine. And the idea here is that with this basically being kind of a warped and screwed up version of Galactus himself from the main Marvel universe, but albeit from a different reality, what it does is it actually sees a lot of the other cosmic entities stand aside, and it allows Galactus to engage in a conflict with this. Now, the reason why is because Galactus, unlike a lot of these other cosmic entities, really kind of takes it as like a personal battle, right? A personal struggle. More so than that, Galactus really seems to be one of the few left standing. A lot of the other cosmic entities have either been destroyed or they've left. For example, Arishem the Judge of the Celestials was destroyed, or at least seemed to be destroyed in this conflict. And so a lot of the Celestials have been obliterated. A lot of the other cosmic entities have been destroyed. Galactus is one of the last few standing. And so ultimately what ends up happening here with all these other forces that are here, the Shi'ar, what they end up doing is saying, okay, then our job here is to focus on the Galactus engine. This is the single biggest threat that we have to face here. Everything else is cleanup duty in comparison to this, but this is the biggest threat because this is what can wipe out the cosmic entities. And so sort of joining all their forces together and working to try to destroy the Galactus engine, at the end of the day, all they're really able to do is kind of offer some measure of aid, but they're not really able to do it on their own, right? Because it's just too much power for them to contain. And so that's the nature of the conflict at the moment right now. It looks like all hope is lost. You have Thanos, who essentially joined forces and is sacrificing himself to Mar-Vell. You have all these forces, you have like almost all the cosmic entities who in a lot of ways have been destroyed. You've got Galactus, who's one of the few left. Half the forces that are there have been totally eradicated just by the forces of the Cancerverse coming out, not even the Galactus engine itself. And then once Galactus and the other cosmic entities are destroyed, then all these other forces will be wiped out. I mean, for the most part, all hope is lost here. It's bleak. It's one of these things where like everybody's going to die. Now, of course, Nova showing up here and offering a helping hand is cool, but he's by no means powerful enough on his own to save the day. And the real gambit here, the real trick, comes by way of Thanos. And this is why one, it's called the Thanos Imperative, and two, why Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was painfully underplayed, because Thanos is exceedingly intelligent, right? He's one of the smartest people out there in the Marvel Universe in terms of battle strategy and all those things. And the reason why is because remember, all this conflict with Thanos and the Avengers and all that stuff is taking place inside the Cancerverse. And so ultimately what he does is he begins to kind of tease and toy with Mar-Vell and say, you're so much like my main Marvel counterpart. And when the question is asked why, he's like, because Mar-Vell always jumped headlong into his goal and he never really considered the consequences. He never really thought about what it was that he was doing. By killing me here in your universe, all you've done is invite Mistress Death. You've brought death to a universe where people can't die, where you killed the Mistress Death that's here. You've sealed your own fate. It's the smartest gambit that could have been made here, the smartest thing that could have been done, because Thanos saw this coming and it was part of his plan the entire time, right? I mean, it was something that kind of came to fruition as soon as Thanos realized that he was banned from the realm of Mistress Death and he couldn't die. It's why he instigated the fight with Drax the Destroyer, was to test that theory, can he die? You know, as the avatar of death and as someone who had been banned from the realm of Mistress Death, what would happen if his physical body was destroyed? Would it reconstitute itself? Would he be kind of left as some sort of spiritual essence, whatever the case was? It was a huge risk to take, but that was the idea behind it, was to basically engage into a fight with Drax the Destroyer, let Drax the Destroyer kill him, and then see what happens. The fact that his physical body resurrected meant that Thanos himself could not truly die. His physical form would always return, meaning he could go to the Cancerverse, he could lead Mar-Vell to his location. If Mar-Vell was anything like the main Marvel Universe version that Thanos had fought so many times, he would have done exactly what he did. Thanos knew exactly what he would do, which is exactly what he did, and jump the gun. Celebrate in the fact that, oh my God, I finally got the avatar of death, let's kill him, and give no thought to like, what happens if we do kill him in this location? The smart move would have been to take Thanos to the main Marvel Universe and kill him there, because in that way, Mistress Death wouldn't have been teleported, wouldn't have been brought to that universe. But remember, it's the nature of Mistress Death as the person who gathers the souls of those who have died to travel to their location and to bring them to where they're supposed to be. It's exactly what ended up happening with regards to the original Mar-Vell. And so because of that, with this version of Mar-Vell having brought Mistress Death to his universe, she in turn kills him and then wipes out everything that's supposed to die, everything that's supposed to be cleared out. And because this is a universe where everything is supposed to be dead, even though it's not, ultimately the entire universe ends up getting wiped out by Mistress Death. It's all cleansed and it's all cleared out, right? Like everything in that universe is for the most part destroyed, or at least that's what it seems, insofar as the universe begins to collapse in on itself. All the members who were there as part of the Cancerverse, either inside the Cancerverse universe or in the main Marvel universe, are killed. The Galactus engine itself begins to be pulled back in. The many-angled ones seem to more or less retreat or be eradicated themselves. Essentially, the day appears to be won. And this is where things begin to go awry, because what happens here is Thanos turns to Mistress Death and says, I fulfilled my purpose as your avatar. I've done these things to please you. Will you talk to me? And Mistress Death still turns away. Mistress Death still says no. It's the age-old struggle between Thanos and Mistress Death. He's trying to get her attention and she won't give it to him. And so as a result of that, he begins to lash out. The crazy thing about this is Thanos is now in a maddened state, which means when all these forces start getting teleported out of this location, if Thanos goes with them or if Thanos makes it through the rift and returns back to the main Marvel universe, who knows what he's going to do, because he's angry and he's heartbroken. He'll just go on some warpath and start killing everything he can find. But because of that, what ends up happening here is Nova and Star-Lord end up staying behind. The Cosmic Cube, as it was brought in by Star-Lord for just for this kind of situation, in case it was needed with what little power it has left, is basically used and channeled for the purpose of keeping Thanos contained, keeping Thanos subdued. And so as the entire universe begins collapsing in down around them, and as the fault begins to seal, and as everything's cut off, ultimately Richard Rider and Peter Quill stay behind in the Cancerverse with Thanos and are basically trapped there, and ultimately the day is saved, right? So because of the sacrifice of these two guys, the entire Cancerverse is more or less defeated. The victory is won by the various superheroes, and of course a statue is made in their name. But the big takeaway from from this. And the thing that kind of left a lot of people asking was, what comes next? What happens with Star-Lord? What happens with Richard Rider? And what happens with Thanos? Are they gone from the Marvel landscape forever? Or are they going to make a return? With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. This was an amazing story, and I will catch you all later. Peace.